absolutely. Now, it's so important that we make time for our conversation today. We definitely wanted to make sure we had time to give you the floor, especially our young people. We want to hear from you. This is an open forum, meaning if you have any questions, any comments, if you just want to share what you're thinking, what you're feeling right now, this is your time. This is your space. So I am going to stop talking for a moment so that we can hear from you, our young people. And also, if you have comments or things you want to add, but you don't want to say it, you can always put it in the chat. We definitely want to hear from you. Okay?
And we'll have a time limit, so if you go over, you'll hear a little sound, and that means to wrap it up.
I'm just feeling a bit frustrated. The fact that my name's Inaya. I saw the memorial on Thursday, and I felt upset about how George Floyd died, and how he was killed. And there's so much going on, and I felt like I didn't know how to feel because the protesters were all angry and stuff and burning things. I just thought that was really crazy how angry they were.
I have something to say. So, there was also a black man who died in South Africa in police custody, which I heard today on the radio on 702. And the government is asking us all to wear black on Friday. So I am just asking you to wear all black on Friday as well.
So I wanted to hear if there are any solutions. How could that situation maybe have been different? What would have maybe made that situation different? What could someone have done that would have maybe made it different? Does anybody have any solutions to what could have made it different?
Okay, for clarity, are you talking about the situation with the police or the response to the situation?
The situation with the police, with George Floyd. What could have made that situation different? What could someone have done? Is it anything anyone could have done to have made that different?
I think what could have made it different, the people who were taking the videos, I'm not completely sure, because I did hear that people were taking videos of the incidents, could have stopped the police, like called 911 while they were doing it. That's what I think.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think that the police officer shouldn't have put his knee on him. I think that somebody should have stopped them. Even though they were trying to stop the people, the bystanders, I think somebody should have called the police, an ambulance or something for George Floyd.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to make it clear that this situation would have been tough to I respect your question, Auntie Denise. However, I do want to state that the mindset of the police presently and prior to have always oppressed people of color. So while I do think that bystanders probably could have tried to jump in, I do think they didn't jump in because they know that their lives too could have been in danger. And so I don't shame anyone for not jumping into those situations, but I do also think that it could have been of support if someone tried to stop that. Maybe the situation would not have turned out that way. I also want to say that the mindset of them, the police always being ready to take lives, unfortunately, I can't really see the situation going differently because it was 8 minutes, I believe, 8 to 9 minutes in which he rested his knee on George Floyd's neck. So he had plenty of time to see what he was doing wrong and didn't change his position. So I'm not sure how much could have changed aside from literally the white police officer choosing to change his stance, or someone taking violent action against the police officer, which probably would have still led to someone getting killed because they would have retaliated against whoever tried to save George Floyd. So I feel like a lot of people, unfortunately, hands were tied in this situation. I'm not a huge fan of reporting incidents. I am one who would like to feel that the community should step up more, but I also understand why they're scared to. And I'm very solution oriented, which is why I was going to turn back to Anaya's statement in regards to like people being angry and choosing to riot and loot, which are two different things. Rioting is expressing your anger for the issue and property and vandalism being involved in that. And looting is literally just the crime of stealing and not really connecting it to why people are out there with this anger and expressing themselves the way they're expressing themselves. So while it may seem like, oh, they shouldn't do this, if you understand the history of police brutality, we have tried in very peaceful manners to get different results, and we did not see those results. And we got fed up, and that frustration bottled up, now released as anger into the streets, is what we're seeing. But fortunately and unfortunately, we're seeing results. People are now getting arrested. People are now getting their names highlighted as murderers because people are angry, showing their anger, instead of us being like, oh, could you please arrest the people who killed this man in plain daylight while wearing their uniforms and when this person
Excuse me? Sophia wants to say something.
I think it's not exactly fully an idea, it's just something I wanted to say. Well, ever since this pandemic started, everything's been a big argument. It's been an argument from the whites and black from the start. And I'm trying to figure out ways that we can go all in peace. It's somehow when my mom and dad fight, I would tell them, Mom, why don't you just say sorry at the same time? But here's the thing, one side doesn't do anything wrong and the other side's just mad. And we have to find a way to deal with that. And it's because the black side didn't do anything wrong. But I also have learned that the white side has been jealous. So, and I've been jealous a lot of my time too. And we can't just leave them aside saying white evil, because some of them are good. So we can't just divide ours from the whites and the blacks into one hat and split the world in half, and the black will go on one side and the whites will go on the other. No, because some of the whites are good. We just need to find a way to find a solution so that way everyone can go in peace and quit the argument.
Well said.
That is very well said. Excellent. Can you say your name one more time, please?
Sophia and Inaya.
No, that's Sophia's talking. I'm Inaya. She's Sophia.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's important to note this is bigger than just black versus white. This incident has sparked a lot of conversation around everything that needs to change in this country. And like you just said, Sophia, we have to get to a point where we see more than just color, right? Because, we know that it's black police officers that have done bad things, white police officers, so you can't say that it's just black or white. And that's a great segue into talking about solutions. So I'm curious to hear from some of our other young people, just in the grand scheme, what can we do individually to make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again, that we don't keep perpetuating this cycle of racism, of hatred? What can we do individually to help move our communities forward? How do we move forward from here? What can we do?
Well, actually, racism is actually something that your family has taught you. Sometimes you are brought into a family that teaches you to be racist, or your mind, and since they teach you, and you thought you were better than the other your family, and but you're not better. That's what I thought happened with the police who killed Floyd, because he has an Asian wife, and maybe he thought that he's not racist, but something just sparked up in his head. Black is bad, black is dangerous. It's mostly like a reflex that white people get because of anything. A white person can be good, they wouldn't be racist normally, but they were still brought into a family that taught them how to be racist without any of them knowing. That's what I think. And changing their mindset is a very hard thing to do because it's how they're wired sometimes. So we can't always say that's what we should do. We should have a change in society, and we have moved a really long way from slavery to everything. But the best thing we can really do is keep on this. Actually, even the marches that are happening in the U.S., I know they're expressing their anger, but also it is also putting them to harm's way because they could be arrested, they could be killed during the protests. I feel they could do a peaceful protests and maybe we've tried too much, but I don't think that them putting themselves through harm's way and getting themselves killed by white police officers over and over again is gonna solve it, because that's probably what they teach them at the police academy.
Thank you. Can you say your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Ornella Pasha and calling from a Churchville with Tswane.
Thank you. Very well said, my love.
Thank you.
And I wanted to mention a term, what you just spoke about, there's a term for that, and it's called implicit bias. So everybody can Google that, implicit bias. And there's actually a survey that can be done, and the survey will tell you where your biases are. You may be biased against someone that is darker skinned than you. You may be biased with someone that is heavier than you. You may be biased about somebody that's skinny. So Google implicit bias, and I'll actually send that as a survey that you can do to see where your biases are, because that's where I feel we have to start. We start with what it is that we're biased about, and it's unconscious, as you said, is how you may be wired. So just being aware of that awareness. Thank you so much, Ornella. Anyone else? Any other young people? Because time is ticking.
Could I offer a comment?
Yes, please.
Let me see if I get my video working here. One of the things that each astronaut that has gone to space has said, they have endured what they call the overview effect, for lack of a better name. When they get to space, they look down and they see the Earth. They don't see any country boundaries. They don't see people of black color, brown color, Asian color, white color. They just see the Earth, and all the people are on the Earth, and they're not. The rest of humanity is down there, and they're up there. It's a very phenomenal feeling, apparently. And the first men who went around the moon, they were 3 days away. They were just around the moon. They looked back, and that little blue marble called the Earth had all the people of the Earth down there, and they were up on the moon by themselves. They said this was an unbelievable feeling to recognize that, and they were hoping that they were going to be able to get home. So they all experienced what they call the overview effect, and I hope that all sorts of people would look at this country and this world of ours as one bunch of humanity. That's all.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah, the country boundaries, even these labels that we're given, all of these things contribute to implicit bias, you know, and that's something that we got to be aware of even in our own everyday life. May not even be intentional. I see a comment on the chat from Beverly. She says, in this situation, it becomes very difficult to change the community or the world without changing yourself first. That's an excellent comment.
I just want to give a comment, and I think I'm adding on to what Uranele was saying. Just to say that in terms of what we have to do, we must remember that in the world, there's different forces, there's different energies that are always pulling and pushing, and we always have to be aware of the energy that we align ourselves to. So the negative energy is always very easy to identify because it doesn't bring about any positivity, it doesn't bring about any progress, it doesn't bring about any change that is significant. So, in terms of racism, it's important for us to continue, pushing the light and aligning ourselves to what we know is right and righteous. And the longer that we keep on talking and ensuring that we don't suppress our voice, we keep on raising what is wrong, and we keep on aligning to demonstrate what is right, we are already contributing towards the solution of bringing racism to an end. So I just want to encourage everybody that even though the problem may be big and it seems like such a huge task to deal with it, that the more that we bring it to our own awareness that it is there, that it exists, and that in it existing, it requires us to react and actually be proactive, be ahead of the problem, that we would be aligning ourselves to the right solution. And the solution is just pushing the light. We must just be representatives of the light and always remember to put ourselves in good spirit and share the good way of living with each other. Thank you.